Working with forms in tables. It is a misconception that you can't have form tags within table cells. Provided the table is built with a consistent user experience, tables work just fine for forms. Special care needs to be taken to put the form tags in the appropriate location within the table tag structure. And some cleanup may be required on the table for proper reading. Now here we are back in our tuition reimbursement request and authorization form. However, I've restructured this form a little bit so that it has a table within the main body of the form. Now you'll notice that the table that I've structured here provides the user with a very consistent user experience. You can see over on the left we have the field caption, if you will, and then over on the right we have the form field. And because the table is very consistent, it's going to be very easy for the user to navigate this table and understand what is expected of them. And by structuring the table in this way, it's going to make it really easy for us to make this document accessible. Now there's a couple of things that I want to point out before we go too far. So over here in my tags pane, I'm going to open up the document tag. And this first table here is the table that we're seeing on the screen right now. Now, if we right-click on that table and we go to the table editor, one of the things I want to make sure that I do is define these cells on the left side of the table as header cells. So using my cursor, I'm going to marquee across all of these cells to highlight them. And then I'm going to right-click on any of the selected cells and choose Table Cell Properties. Now, I've been able to define these cells as header cells because I could do that directly inside of Microsoft Word. But you'll notice that the scope property is missing. So I'm going to change the scope property of these cells to be row headers, and then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now those cells are properly defined within the table. Now the other thing I want to point out is if you open up the table structure, I'm going to open up this first row here, and if we open up the TD cell, you'll notice that there's a paragraph in there. And if you open up that paragraph, you can see that it is an empty P tag, right? And that's really useless information. That does nothing for me. It doesn't help. And so for that reason, it's going to get in our way. So I really want to get rid of them within this table. So a little trick to show you, I'm going to collapse this table. And if you hold down the Control key on your keyboard and click this disclosure triangle, it will explode the tag structure. It'll basically open up every tag within the table structure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my Control key and select the content object of each of these TD tags, because what I want to do is artifact them. So I'm just going to go through and select all of these. And then I'm going to right click and choose Change Tag to Artifact. Click OK. And now you'll see that the content object in all of those tags has disappeared. So I'm just going to go back now and delete those empty tags that are left over. And that way we end up with a cell that inherently has no content. I'm just going to get rid of these guys. And then we can kind of do the reverse of what we just did. And by holding down the Control key again and clicking on the disclosure triangle, it will collapse all of those tags. And now if I just open it up, you can see that I can see each one of the rows and the cells within there. Now I've already gone through and tagged the form fields that I've added for this table. And if I scroll down here, you can see that right here are all of the form fields, right? So what I might do to make this process a little bit easier is I'm just going to select all these form tags and I'm going to drag them up here closer to where the table lives. And it's going to make it easier for me to drag them where they need to go. So here we are in this first row, employee name. I'm going to find the employee name tag. And I'm going to drag that form tag into the empty TD. So now you can see that we have the first row, which is employee name. The first cell contains the employee name text, and then the next cell contains the form tag. I'm now going to find employee ID. I'm going to move that up there into that empty cell. And I'm just going to keep repeating this process, moving each of these tags into the appropriate empty cell. And there we go. Now to double check my work, I'm going to go ahead and collapse this table. And now I'm just going to open it up. And as I click on each row, you can see that the caption as well as the form field is highlighted in each row. And that's telling me that I did my work correctly and that the table is going to be tagged appropriately. And that's what's required for ensuring that your table content is not only properly tagged, but also has the appropriate form tag contained within that table. And again, if I want to check my work, I can come over here to my All Tools tab. I can choose Prepare for Accessibility and run a quick accessibility check on this document. And you'll see that under the Forms category, everything is passing. And under the Page Content category, everything is passing as well. It looks like my other table in this document, the one down here, needs some work. But everything I did related to the form is now properly tagged.